Good morning, everyone. Hey, guys. I wanted to talk to you guys a little bit from some of the information I got from the 7 habits of highly effective people. It's very simple. It's the power of the paradigm shift, right? So perhaps the most important insight to be gained from the perception demonstration is in the area of paradigm shifting, what we might call the aha experience. When someone finally sees the composite picture in another way, the more bound a person is by the initial perception, the more powerful the aha experience is. It's as though a light was suddenly turned on inside. The term paradigm shift was introduced by Thomas Kuhn in the highly influential landmark book, The Structure of Scientific Revolutions. So rather than me going into a lot of detail, one of the first things that it talks about is every time there is a paradigm shift scientifically, whether it was Newton's law or whoever's law it was, right, of physics, it was always met with resistance. And it's this idea of being met with resistance that I really want to target, because I think truthfully what happens to most people when we really want to build something new, or we want to think new, or we want to do something new, the first thing that we do is, once we receive some resistance, it's the first pushback that creates a situation where we want to fall back, right? So you can be pushed back, just don't fall back. Now, I woke up this morning and I was thinking, I was like, man, isn't it ironic that we put the most time in the things that are the most meaningless in our lives, right? So we actually invest the most time in the things that will do the least amount for us, but we invest the least in the things that will do the most for us. I'll say that one more time. We invest the most time in the things that will do the least for us, and we'll invest the most or the least time in the things that will do the most for us. So let me give you an example. When you wake up in the morning, I know most people do this, okay? So no one's pointing fingers, right? How much time do you spend on social media? How much time do you spend looking at articles, looking at faux news? I'm gonna call it faux news because it's just bragging and boisterous things that are talking about all kinds of things, right? People, politics, ideas, influences, all these different things. But what are those things actually doing for you? When I look at something, one thing I will say, and this is the blessing of being a promoter, is 30 years ago, I had to say, okay, if I'm going to make money, I'm going to earn money. I'm already working 12 hours some days as a car salesman. How in the world am I going to gain this influence in our personal business? So anytime I looked at an ad, an article, or anything, it had to be moving me in a certain direction. So when it came to social media, I had to learn how to not necessarily make money off of Instagram, not necessarily learn how to make money off of YouTube, not learn how to make money off of Facebook or run ads or anything like that. But I wanted to make sure that it was a leveraging tool. And I think that's what most people are missing. So I had a couple examples I wanted to talk about, because I thought about this earlier today, and I thought to myself, Brian leverages everything that I do. So you may see some things and it may appear one way to you, but most of the things that I have, for the most part, I either keep or they've been gifted to me, right? So my wife will give it to me for my 50th birthday or whatever you want to call it. But I have, and I'm going to talk about designers here. So we're going to talk about, how about this? We'll talk about Movado, right? So I've got plenty of Movado watches. I've got so many of them, I don't even really count. And I bought some for my wife over the years, right? Because watches are kind of my thing. But I wanted to use an example of Coach, because most people have Coach, right? So I have this Coach watch. This Coach watch was given to me maybe a birthday or two ago. I can't even really remember. And it was given to me with the Coach outfit. Now, how much did that Coach outfit actually cost me? I cost my wife or whatever. I don't know. I have no idea. But I can guarantee you it didn't come because it came with this brand tag on it. It cost a little bit more than other things, right? And so you might have seen me go out the other day and I was showing you a watch at EJ Pretty's. Well, that's an actual EJ Pretty watch, right? So what does this Every Pretty watch mean to Brian? Okay, this means the world. Why? Because Every, if Brian were sick in the hospital, would give a call to see how I was doing. Sorry, to see how I was doing. He's gonna be frustrated if I break this watch. No, it's actually mine. So he would actually give a call to see how I'm doing. Unfortunately, Coach will never call to see how Brian is doing. Good luck on Movado giving a call to see how Brian is doing. And I guarantee you, nobody from Michael Kors even knows my name. So when I look at this, I'll say, when I talk about leveraging, the power of leveraging, most people think of it like, Brian, I mean, it's so much easier for you and I leverage, but baby, you spend money every day. We all do. Every single one of us spends money every single day. And that's a consumer mentality. Most people will go out, they'll work a job. That's what they do. They work every single day. They consume the money and they just are trying to survive. But what they don't think about is you have a very powerful, useful tool in your household, and it is your dollars. It's your credit. It's that credit card that you use. It's that money that you use on Cash App. It's all of those things. So those businesses depend on you to come in every day. Sometimes they're not just being friendly to you, right? They just want to make sure that you're going to go ahead and spend that dollar with them. And we do it. But my question to you is, what do you get back in exchange? I can tell you right now, I get nothing back in exchange for wearing this Movado watch, but the feeling of, hey, I got a Movado on. I get nothing back in exchange for this Coach watch. It's stylish. I like it. It matches a lot of my outfits, matches the pants I have on right now. But there's no reciprocity that's fixed into me spending my money with Coach. But here, when I went and looked at this watch with my friend at one of his grand openings, I said to myself, you know what, EJ, that's a nice quality watch. You know what he said back to me? He said, I noticed you wear a lot of big face watches. So he actually ordered a grouping of watches because he saw the kind of watches that I wear. That's a friend. And so when it came to this watch in particular, he said, well, basically my birthday is this month. He said, why don't you go ahead and take this watch? Now, I'm paying him for this watch. But at the end of the day, I want you to understand that the value of this watch is invaluable. The value of this watch is the name that's on the watch. And that's what I mean when I say we invest in things that do the least for us. And we spend our lives investing in things that do the least for us. But we don't have a paradigm shift in our lives where we say, you know what? How about I invest in my good friend's future? How about I invest in his children's future? How about I invest in his children's inheritance? Now let's flip that. Most of us will invest time into things that won't actually serve us. And you'll hear me say things like, hey, we got this Numi product, right? And you think I'm really trying to sell you this Numi product. Actually, I'm not. The truth is, I realize that this product has done more things for Brian Lamont Roberts than any other thing that I've ever taken. Really, honestly, let me show you my eyes. In my entire life, it's done more for me than any other thing that I've done in my entire life. And I've learned a lot more about glutathione and its actual benefits for my body. And when I saw that it actually detoxifies my cells, I said to myself, this is something that I want in my life. Now, if you read up on how many toxins that we take into the human body, it's quite a lot. And I don't have to tell you about the the obstructions of, say, cellular things that come, right? And so there's all kinds of thought processes on where, we've got all these cell towers, and a lot of this is getting into our bodies, and it really is. And those are carried throughout your cells. And then they set up different things, I'm not going to say what, but like certain cancers and things of that nature, right? And so if you could do something that could actually detox your body, that could actually give you a sense of wholeness, a sense of completeness, a sense of mental clarity, a sense of focus when you see, and for a fact, and for me personally, I know for a fact I'm 50 years old and my body needs this because how much of that stuff have I taken on all the years? Why would I put more time into going to the soul food restaurant? Why would I put more time into supporting something that's not going to support me back? And so my philosophy is very, very simple, guys. It's not a hard philosophy to understand. When you make a purchase, just be mindful of who and what you're making a purchase with. And be mindful if that person, honestly, before you make that purchase, have a conversation to see if they would even consider something that you do, and you'll know who and what you're dealing with. Don't make your decisions based on price. Don't make your decisions based on style. Don't make your decisions based on brand. Don't be branded here mentally. Be branded here in your heart. Make your decisions based on truth. Make your decisions based on reality. Make your decisions based on those that participate in your life. And you'll begin to empower yourself and make a difference. I showed you guys Barat in New York City. And to be quite frank, guys, when my wife told me his story years ago, I had to meet this guy. I wanted to know what made this guy tick. And it was amazing to me. From Bangladesh, he came here. He's an immigrant. Think about it, guys. He's an outsider when he came to America, right? Didn't really have much. And I know some will say, oh, yeah, they give immigrants certain things. But he's in New York City. I mean, need I say more? Do you know how much it costs to live in New York City? And while living in New York City, instead of making 1,000 excuses as to why he can't survive, he found where he could survive. And so very humbly, all he does is serve room service. That's why the picture is what it was, right? But Barat is actually, not on paper, but in reality, a millionaire now. It's been over 20-something years working now from when it was the London Hotel to now the Conrad Hilton. There's many celebrities and stars and different people that most of the time when we're there, heck, we ran into downtown Jim Brown when we were there eating breakfast and dinner. And they're there all the time. Ran into all kinds of people, Big Time Rush, you name it. I mean, over the years, my daughter would tell me, oh, that's this person. I'm like, I don't know who that is, right? And it's literally right beside the movie house where they actually premiere a lot of the, they do the red carpet premieres for a lot of the Hollywood films. And so what I'm telling you is he chose where he would go to work, but he didn't just slave in every single dollar that he was going to spend. He decided that he would purchase that cab, right? That he would lease that cab out to two of his friends. He had two different cabs. He leased them out to two different friends. This is at that time. This is before, think beyond Uber, okay? So if you haven't thought in your mind about Ubering or maybe getting a couple of cars and putting them in Uber fleet, I don't know why not. I would have, right? So he did that, all right? And so he said, at the time, he said, this is something that you can't do now. And he's right. Nowadays, it really wouldn't play as much to get two cabs. You're not going to make that kind of money off of them. But he was able to make $100,000 per cab plus the six figures that he was making on the job at the London Hotel at the time. Did he rest on his laurels? Did he say, oh, look at how much money we got? Did he go out and spend on a bunch of big fashion? No. He said, you know what? Let me go invest that money. He got his dollars working for him. And the wealthy, that's what the wealthy do. The wealthy allow their dollars to work for them. That's the difference. And so if you're being told by a wealthy person, no, a lot, it's because they're looking at you and wondering when you're going to make your dollars go to work for you. That's all they're wondering. They're not mad at you. They're none of those things. They got to pay their taxes, right? And so they're watching you think that money just grows on trees, like my father used to say, and you're not making any dollars work for you. And what you're doing is you're asking them for their children's inheritance. And that's why they tell you no, because you really don't know the big picture of what's going on. So why would you spend the majority of your time in the thing that's giving you the least and the least amount of your time in the thing that has the potential to give you the most? Why would you spend the majority of your time complaining about what you didn't have the last 10 years when it only takes 2 to 5 years of real true commitment to actually build something that can create a legacy for a lifetime? You have to build it like a business, and then everything will flow and follow it, just like a business. You have to go out, you got to get your business cards, right? You can't sit and wait. You got to get your business cards. This is my second set of business cards, right? Can't sit and wait. I've got a third set of business cards coming. I got a QR code coming tomorrow. I've got a commercial that we're shooting tomorrow. It's a personal business card. I'm ever evolving. And that's what business people do. We ever evolve. We're never stationary because we're always thinking about what are the things that can bring us the most for the least. What are those things? And what are the things that are going to give us the greatest value for our time? If I've got to invest only 24 hours every single day, I'm 50, will soon be 51 in just a few more days. It's the 7th, right? 13 more days. I'll be 51 years old. I don't have time to put in the time of a 25-year-old, and I refuse. However, Numi helps me make up time because I feel much better than I used to feel, than I even felt maybe 5 years ago. So it's not something that I'm saying, it's something that I'm doing. Does this necessarily change the trajectory of my life? I don't know, but it's definitely changed a lot of moments in my life, and it's made me a lot happier, and it's made me a lot more fulfilled. And so if I told you $50, that's all this is, $50 times 2, $100 can change your life, but you put your money into this and that, I don't know, look it up, 500, 600, 400. It doesn't matter because once the money's spent, this sits in my dresser because I got a whole collection of them. So what is it really doing for me? When this, 4 months of this, can really change everything in my entire life. My question is simple. When is the paradigm going to shift for you? When are you going to decide, you know what? Even if he was wrong, even if I'm wrong, I'm more right than this. God bless you all. That's what we're looking for. Don't invest in the things that are going to produce the least for you. Stop investing your time in things that are going to give you the least, and start putting your time and maximizing your time into the things that are going to give you the most. Even if you read through all of Stephen Covey's book, every single bit of Stephen Covey's book, even if you did that, that's all you did. You just read through the entire book. That's what you did. You would be doing more than most. You would be doing a lot more than most. And that's how I began. The way I began personally was I put more time into this than I did social media, than I did watching TV. I can't tell you the last, and I love basketball, I love football. Can't tell you the last time I sat through a basketball game. I can't tell you the last time I sat through a football game. Why? Because I've got Diamond VIP to finish building. I've got an office to sustain. I've got real things going on. And I know for some, it never really dawned on you, but this office is roughly about $2,200 a month. So if I'm sustaining, and that's, my wife and I had that conversation yesterday. So if I'm sustaining the office, then I have to make more than $2,200 to make it make sense. But I wanted to have the office because I knew that something would come. So when I tell you about BNI and the investment that I make in BNI, that's what's necessary to build any business. The question is, will you take it seriously with what you're doing? Do you have the money to make it happen? Maybe not. But you can leverage what I'm doing already. I'm not saying leverage my dollars. I'm saying leverage what's happening, that you can actually talk about what's happening. And in most cases, you can't talk about what's happening. It's not the standard, right? To have a group of people who are connected to the owner of a major company like Numi. It's not the standard, right? It's not the standard to have folks that are connected to the owner of Two Can Win. So it's not just presenting another thing to you. We've actually had conversations, and we're founders in these things. It's not the standard to have connections in Novatech. That's not the standard. But if you just keep going through the motions and you don't allow for any ahas, then you'll be at the same place 12 months from now. I've already decided that come 12/7 of 2023, 6 to 7 figures will already be in my account. How can I guarantee that? Well, my goal this month is to get everything in play before I really kick off the ERC. I've already made some calls and talked to some folks, but you're gonna start seeing Brian in some suits and ties, okay? Because it's very serious what we're doing here and what we have the opportunity to do. I'm gonna meet with more and more of my BNI groups all throughout this city. I wanna get warm introductions because that's what you can get when you're in BNI. So it's like one step that I tell you leads to the next step. Anyone can do it, but you gotta put the time in. I was working my 12 hours a day, but also doing BNI for an hour and a half, one time per week. And the way I was able to make up time was I was selling 5 to 6 cars per month just off of what was referred to me from BNI. Now, once I got to work, I'm a lot calmer than I used to be because I know that I have not just myself looking out for me, I've got other friends that are into the business of the giver's gain who want to see me do well and I want to see them do well. So when I talk to someone, I leverage that person for them and then they leverage people for me, which is no different than I basically told you that what we do is once you get your health right and you feel right by taking Numi, right? If you don't take Numi, do something, but then I'm gonna say to you, if you buy a pill, where does the money go? Is any of the money coming back to you? All the people that go out there looking, a lot of people went out Black Friday, right? How many of those dollars came back to them? They said to themselves, I saved money. Did you really? What came back to you? What difference did you make? What needle got moved? Overnight, I'm being asked at 2 a.m. if I want to do a meeting. And I could schedule that meeting whenever because this lady is from India. She has a group that's connected here. They got an office here in Phoenix, and I know they got an office in Dubai and Canada. Huge difference, guys. So if you want to scale, where did she come from? BNI, Business Network International. Did she come from, she crawled from under a rock? No. Did she come from out of my group here in Las Vegas? No. I refuse to sit still. I'm in constant motion. Continuous motion will get you where you need to be. You have to make that continuous motion. Then you have to be organized. Make sure that you follow up with the people that you've talked to. So that's why I put all the other systems in play. You gotta have a CRM, right? You gotta follow up, you gotta have a calendar. You put the calendar out there, they tell you what time they're gonna meet, you meet at that time. And most importantly, you have to become a person who will chase your words. Don't tell me you'll meet me at 1 o'clock and then not follow up with me as to why you can't meet me at 1 o'clock. But I don't mean after 1 o'clock. Follow up with me before 1 o'clock so that I can make good on the rest of my day and the rest of my time. Otherwise, even if we meet again, my respect level just went down. Your first impression just kind of went. You have 7 seconds to make a good first impression. 7 seconds to make the best first impression. If you're not at home practicing what you're going to say, practicing what you're going to do, and being about it, shame on you. So what I learned was, if Brian Lamont would chase his integrity of his words and then follow that up with actual actions, basically I tell you, hey, you know what? Let me see if I can get that information for you. And then I go back and get the information for you. I'll create some consistency. So I'll ask it one more time and then I'll go. Why is it that we put more time into things that can do the least for us and the least amount of time into things that can do the most for us? Is it propaganda? Is it the fact that we don't have a personal paradigm shift? These are not questions that I'm just asking you that just go poof into the stratosphere. These are questions I'm asking you that I want to say, when are they going to change for you? God bless.